I am speaking to you from the Cabinet Room at 10 Downing Street. This morning, the British ambassador in Berlin handed the German government a final note stating that unless we heard from them by 11 o'clock, that they were prepared at once to withdraw their troops from Poland, a state of war would exist between us. I have to tell you now that no such undertaking has been received, and that consequently this country is at war with Germany.
And I can remember the first day the war started, because I was 8 years old. I just had my 8th birthday on the 23rd of August, and the war started on the 3rd of September. And my mummy was getting me ready for Sunday school. And she'd just got me dressed. I got a little white pleated skirt on and a little red blouse. And I got black paint and ankle strap shoes and little white ankle socks. And she sat me on the table while she got my sister ready, because I always used to get dirty. It didn't matter what they put me on, I got dirty. And Barbara didn't, she stayed clean. So then she dressed Barbara, and she was just dressing Barbara, great Auntie Barbara. And our wireless had to go back to the shop then, because you had to have the batteries charged at the shop. You couldn't buy batteries, there were batteries in glass cases, and they had to go to the shop to be charged up. And our wireless had gone back to the shop to be charged up. And the lady next door came running in, and she said, "Oh, Daisy," that was my mum's name, "Daisy, can you come into our house? Mr. Chamberlain's just come on the television and he's got news for us." So we all went running round to Mrs. Park's house, and Mr. Chamberlain came on the television and he said, "Germany has invaded Poland, so Britain has declared war on Germany." So that was the start of the war. So then the people came round giving us all gas masks. And they were horrible. They were like big black masks that went over your face with a big face piece on, so you could breathe clean air through it. We had to have them and put them in a box and carry them with us everywhere we went. And an identity card to say that we were English. And they got our names on it, and I was really proud, because I could write double writing and sign my name in double writing. And your Auntie Barbara couldn't. She could only print. And my number on my identity card was JAXF3. I can remember that, I'll never forget it, and it was blue. And so we had to keep that with our gas mask in this gas mask box, square gas mask box, and carry it with us over our shoulders everywhere we went, to school and everywhere. And then they built air raid shelters all down the streets and in the school playgrounds. And so that if the sirens went, we all had to go running into the air raid shelters, because we lived in Hull, and the aeroplanes used to come over to bomb the docks. And then my mummy left us. She went to live with somebody else. So it was just my daddy to bring my sister and me up. And he was an ambulance driver in case the air raid sirens went. And so he had to drive an ambulance and go out at night to put incendiary bombs out. You know, if the incendiary bombs dropped on roofs and that, my daddy had to go and put these incendiary bombs out. And if people got the houses knocked down with the bombs, he had to go and rescue them. So he couldn't leave Auntie Barbara and me in the house on our own at night time. So we had to be evacuated. So he arranged it, and I used to go to a school called Escort Street School. So we all had to meet at Escort Street School, a big crowd of mummies and daddies and the children and everything. And we went on a bus to the docks to get on a ferry. It was a ferry boat to go across to Lincolnshire. And then we got on the train in Lincolnshire. And then we went down to a place called Bourne. And when we got out of the train, we were all taken to this great big hall. And ladies came and picked the children they wanted, and so I got left till the end. I don't know why. But this lady picked me, and another lady picked your Auntie Barbara to go and live with her. And it was on the same street, but I lived in this great big house, and your Auntie Barbara lived in a little cottage. And these people I lived with, they got lots of money and that, and they had grapefruit for breakfast. I'd never had grapefruit for breakfast in my life. And serviettes on the table and things like that, And but if she had friends come, she used to leave me on this veranda affair to play. I wasn't allowed to go in the house if she had friends. And I didn't like that very much, so I was naughty all the time. So she told the people that I was evacuated with, she didn't want to have me anymore, so I had to go to another place, and it was a farm. And I liked it on this farm, so I was happy on this farm. I used to go riding on the horses, great big cart horses they had. Great big cart horses, they didn't have tractors. And they used to go on the cart horses when they're collecting all the hay and feed the pigs and the goats and everything like that, and I really loved that. But your Auntie Barbara, she lived with this lady, as I told you, in this little cottage with her daughter, and she really loved this Mrs. Rivers. And but her daughter got scarlet fever, and Barbara got it as well, and it was a dangerous disease in those days. It isn't now, but it was then. And they were put in the fever hospital, and this Mrs. Rivers' daughter died, and she didn't want to take your Auntie Barbara back then, so your Auntie Barbara got sent to a farm as well, but they were really nasty to her, and she wet the bed, and they made her wash the sheets out in cold water in the backyard, and hit her with a stick and broke her arm. So of course my dad heard about it, so he came to Bourne, and he was really angry about what had happened to your Auntie Barbara. So he arranged for us to go to a boarding school just outside Hull, and we were there for the rest of the war. But while we were in Bourne, the teachers used to take us to school, and we could only go in the morning. The children from Bourne used to go in the afternoon. But they used to take us to the woods, teach us all about flowers and trees, because we were city children. We didn't know about flowers and trees and things like that. So they used to show us all these bluebells growing and all these daffodils growing on the roadside and that, and all the trees, and all about squirrels and birds and celandine flowers and violets and all things like that, and they'd tell us what they were. And we loved that, really loved that. And it was a nice place, Bourne. I liked it. But these people that I was first lived with, this man's brother was a saddler. He used to make horse saddles and things like that. And I used to go to his shop because I loved the smell of leather, watching him stitch these big saddles and that, It was nice there. And we had to be taught how to come down. If the sounds were, we had to be taught how to come down a big parachute slide from bedroom to bedroom. That I had to sit in the slide down this big slide.
How old were you when you came home?
When I came home, when I first went to boarding school, I was 11. Because I had to wait till the Auntie Barbara was 10 before we could go to boarding school. But I was 11 when I came home, when I went to boarding school just outside Hull. It was near an aerodrome, so it was a daft place to send evacuees. The next door to Leconfield Aerodrome. But it was just outside Beverley. Then I went to school there, and I stayed there till I was nearly 16. Because that was, it's just after the war. Your granddad died, and my dad died, and my mum came to school to tell me that my dad had died because he'd been a poorly man because he'd had rheumatic fever when he was 14, and that made his heart weak, and he died. Because they didn't do open surgery on people then, so he died. So my mum came to tell me that my dad had died, and she introduced me to my stepfather, because I had a stepfather as well. I didn't know him. So I was naughty again, wasn't I? I was naughty me. So I was rude to him and I wouldn't, and I ran away. And I went to what was called lend a hand on the land. That was going and helping farmers pick potatoes and that, and things like that. And I really liked that. So, I stayed. I was only supposed to stay for a fortnight, but I stayed for about 9 months, doing all jobs, collecting beetroot and potatoes and harvesting fruit and things like that. And then when I was 17 and a half, I had to go back to Hope for my mother to sign papers for me to go in the RAF. So I went home then, and I went in the RAF, and I was in the RAF for 4 years. I was an electrical mechanic on aircraft. Stripping aircraft down of all their electrical pieces and mending them all and putting them all back together again. And I loved that job as well. And then I was 21 when I left the RAF. Well, 22. 22, and I met my husband when I got demobbed. And I had your Auntie Julie and your Auntie Alison, and then I had your Auntie Katie and your Daddy and your Mum and your Auntie Carolyn. So I had 5 beautiful children to bring up winter. And I love them all to bits, and I love all my grandchildren. So now I've got 5 children, 5 in-laws, and 15 grandchildren, and 3 great-grandchildren, and another great-grandchildren coming. Child's going to be born in March, isn't it? And we all love each other, don't we?
What else would you like to ask?
What do you want to ask me then?
Did you write to your mother and dad, father?
Oh
and
yes,
mother?
we had to write every month. Every month we sat down and we had to write a letter. And your granddad used to come to see Auntie Barbara and me once a month. They brought all the fathers and mothers on a bus to Lincolnshire to see us. So we saw them once a month.